The one who chases always loses, but the one who walks away wins peace and power. Don't chase, don't beg. Just go silent and watch them return. That's the truth they never saw coming. They thought they had time. They thought you'd stay stuck on them forever. They thought you'd break character the moment they pulled away. But instead, you did something they weren't ready for. You vanished quietly. No fight, no begging, just calm, cold silence. And that's when the game changed. Now picture this, my friends. You were the flame in the room, warm, steady, magnetic. For a while, they sat close to that fire. They enjoyed it and took comfort in it. But then slowly, they stepped back. Maybe they thought the flame would follow. Maybe they expected you to run through the dark, chasing them with your light. But flames don't chase. Fires don't beg. They burn. And when you pulled your heat back, that's when the cold finally hit them. The world tells them a lie. If someone pulls away, you're supposed to run after them, prove yourself, explain yourself, show them they're worth it. But let me ask you, if someone can't feel your value in your presence, what makes you think they'll realize it when you're pleading? They won't, but they will feel it when you're gone. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good person should be. Be one." You don't need to argue your worth. You don't need to prove your love. You don't need to explain why they should come back. You just need to be silent long enough for them to hear the echo of their own mistake. You see, silence isn't passive, it's powerful. It's not the absence of action, it's the presence of discipline. And right now, they're not just feeling distance, they're feeling the weight of your detachment. The same energy they once took for granted is now missing from their lives. And it's loud. That's the power of going quiet. It gives them nothing to feed on but their own thoughts. They may post like they're fine, laugh like they're free, but don't be fooled. The mind always returns to what it doesn't understand. And when you go quiet, really quiet, they start asking themselves the questions their ego tried to avoid. Why aren't they chasing? Did I matter? Did I just lose someone irreplaceable? And I know what your heart might whisper. What if they never come back? Then let them stay gone. Because the version of you who no longer chases was never meant to beg in the first place. That version is rooted, strong, unshakable. You're not the flame flickering in desperation anymore. You're the fire they feel from across the room. So don't beg, don't explain, don't check your phone every 5 minutes hoping they remember. Just go silent. Let them come to the flame. And if they never do, you still win, because the moment you stopped chasing was the moment you started choosing yourself. Now say it with me in the comments. I choose stillness. Type it, believe it, own it. And if you're done begging for love that should have been given freely, then hit that like button. Your silence isn't just a move, it's the return of your power. Number 1, stop chasing. You're not a hunter of what's meant for you. What runs from you was never yours. What stays without force was always meant to. Let that hit you hard right where it needs to, because someone pulled away from you, didn't they? And the first thing that kicked in wasn't logic, it was panic. That urge to chase, to fix, to explain, to do something, anything, to get their attention back. That's the trap, that's the programming. We've been conditioned to believe that chasing equals caring, that running after someone who's drifting proves your love. But let me break that lie once and for all. You don't prove your worth by chasing someone who's already walking away. You lose it. Imagine standing in an open field. In front of you is a butterfly. The more you chase it, the faster it flutters away. You reach out. It dodges. You lunge. It lifts. And before you know it, you're breathless, empty, and alone. But the moment you sit down, calm, still, grounded, that same butterfly might come back, not because you forced it, but because you stopped chasing. That's how energy works. That's how attraction works. And that's what silence is. Stillness that pulls instead of pushes. But most people don't have the patience for that kind of power. They want the quick fix, the instant response. They panic at the first sign of distance and go running full speed towards someone who isn't even looking back. And maybe right now your mind's racing with questions. What if they forget me? What if I lose them for good? That fear is loud. I know that fear tells you if you don't act, you'll disappear from their life forever. But let me flip the script. What if chasing is what makes them forget you? What if every time you reach out, you make yourself smaller in their eyes? What if silence is the only thing that actually makes them think about you? Seneca once said, "He who is everywhere is nowhere." And that's what happens when you chase. You scatter your energy. You lose your presence. You become noise. But when you stand still, when you go silent with confidence, not coldness, not bitterness, but calm, you become something they can't define. And that's what they remember. The hardest part is that moment when your fingers hover over your phone, when you type out a message and delete it, when your heart tells you, say something, but your soul whispers, don't. That's the test. That's where you grow. Because the old version of you, the one that begged, the one that pleaded, the one that tried to earn love, has to die so the real you can rise. That version doesn't chase. That version doesn't lose themselves just to keep someone else close. That version knows stillness is strength, silence is power, and presence doesn't need to shout to be felt. So let them wonder. Let them sit in the silence they created. Let them feel the absence of the energy they once took for granted. Because if someone can walk away from you and never look back, they were never walking with you to begin with. You didn't lose them. You lost the illusion and you gained yourself. Say it out loud. Say it in your chest. Say it in the comments. I do not chase. Type it. Own it. Let the world know the old you is gone, that the new you isn't a hunter of love. You're a flame, a force, a mountain, still, solid, unshakable. Show them who you are, show yourself what you're made of, and show the world how powerful you become when you choose silence over fear. And if this hit deep, trust me, what's coming next will hit even deeper because we're not just talking silence, we're talking transformation. Stay with me, it only gets better from here. Number 2, the more you beg, the more they forget your value. Every time you beg for love, you teach them it's okay to forget your worth. That's the part no one tells you, not in the movies, not in the songs, and definitely not in the middle of heartbreak. See, begging doesn't pull people closer. It pushes them away slowly, quietly, and with a growing sense of emotional distance. And the worst part is, the more you try to remind them of who you are, the more they start to forget. Not because you aren't valuable, but because you're handing them your worth like it's a bargain deal. Let's paint the picture. You're standing in front of someone, arms out, voice shaking, heart in your hands. You say, please don't leave. You say, just tell me what I did wrong. You say, I'll change, just come back. And in that moment, something dies, not just the connection, but the way they see you. Because no matter how sincere your words are, desperation always smells like fear. And fear is not attractive. It repels. It turns the flame into smoke, the mystery into noise, the power into pity. It's like holding a rose and begging someone to see the beauty in it. But you're holding it out so tightly that the petals are falling, the color fades, and they're no longer drawn to it. They're uncomfortable, maybe even annoyed. That's what emotional begging does. It suffocates whatever was once blooming. It takes the lightness out of love and replaces it with pressure. And no one wants to feel pressured into affection. They want to feel pulled by energy, not guilted by sadness. And I get it. You're scared. Scared that if you don't say something, they'll forget you. Scared that if you stay quiet, someone else will take your place. Scared that maybe this is your only shot at fixing things. That fear screams loud. But fear is a liar. It'll have you kneeling in front of someone who never even asked you to stand in the first place. It'll have you throwing yourself at closed doors, hoping your loyalty will make them open. But here's the truth, and it's going to sting. If someone truly values you, you won't have to beg for their attention, their time, or their effort. You won't have to over-explain your worth. You won't have to send a dozen messages just to get one dry response. You won't have to chase breadcrumbs hoping it leads to a full meal. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." But begging, that's giving your power to outside events. That's tying your identity to whether or not someone chooses you. And when you do that, you slowly vanish, not physically but emotionally. You become a shadow in your own story, living off the light of someone else's validation. So, no more. No more texts that start with, "I know you're probably busy, but..." No more double messages. No more explaining your heart to someone who isn't listening. Let your silence explain it for you. Because the moment you stop begging, you stop bleeding. And when you stop bleeding, you start healing. You rise quietly, powerfully, without apology. And here's the plot twist they didn't expect. Your energy doesn't beg to be seen. It simply is. Like the sun, it doesn't knock on windows asking to be noticed. It rises. And if they close the blinds, that's on them. Your light still shines. So if they've started pulling away and you've been tempted to prove your worth, pause. Look in the mirror and remember who you are. You were never meant to be chasing someone else's recognition. You were meant to be so grounded in your self-worth that your absence feels heavier than your presence ever did. And trust me, it will, because silence from someone with value always echoes the loudest. Say it in the comments. Let it be a reminder to them, to yourself, to the world around you. I don't beg, I become. Type it, claim it, let it settle deep in your bones. Because what's coming next is not about reacting to their distance. It's about building a presence they'll never forget. You're not here to be pined for. You're here to be respected. And the begging stops today. Number 3, your silence isn't rejection. It's revelation. Silence doesn't mean you've given up. It means you've chosen yourself over begging for a place in someone's life. Let's get this straight right here, right now. Your silence is not weakness. It's not rejection. It's not some cold-hearted punishment you're handing out like a power trip. No, your silence is a mirror, a sharp, crystal-clear reflection of who they are without your energy and who you are without their confusion. See, silence isn't just the absence of noise. It's the presence of strength. But here's the catch. Most people can't handle it. The moment you stop explaining yourself, the moment you stop sending just checking in messages, the moment you go quiet, they panic. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're no longer playing the role they assigned you. You're not the comfort zone anymore. You're not the predictable fix. You're not the echo to their silence. You've become still, and stillness makes people hear things they've been trying to avoid. Let's talk real for a second. When you stop reaching out, when you stop trying to keep the connection alive, you create space. And in that space, something powerful happens. They're left alone with the reality of who they are without you. No reminders, no affection on demand, no emotional cushion, just the raw weight of your absence. That's when the cracks start to show. That's when the silence becomes louder than any words ever could. Now, sure, at first they might think you don't care, that you've moved on, that you're being cold. Let them think what they want, because you're not here to play emotional charades. You're not here to manage their perceptions. You're here to protect your peace. And if that peace costs you their attention, then so be it. Because attention bought with anxiety isn't connection. It's chaos dressed as comfort. You know what's funny? The ones who pull away often expect you to come chasing. They think your silence is temporary. They assume you'll fold. that sooner or later the itch to explain yourself will win. But what they don't see coming is the version of you that stays quiet, not out of spite, but out of strength. And when that version shows up, the silence starts speaking for you, not to punish, but to reveal. It reveals what they took for granted. It reveals how much noise they needed from you to feel secure. It reveals the truth that maybe, just maybe, they only stayed connected because you kept carrying the emotional weight. And now that you've put it down, they're exposed, not by your actions, but by your lack of reaction. Remember this, Epictetus said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." And right now, they're listening. Even if they're quiet, even if they haven't said a word, they feel it. That shift in energy, that unavailability that used to be their safety net. And the more they sit in it, the more they start to wonder, did I lose them? Did I go too far? Why aren't they reacting? But here's where most people break character. Right when the silence starts working, they panic. They think, maybe I should say something just to clear the air. Don't hold the line, because every second you remain silent, you reclaim more of your power. Every moment you don't chase, they feel the difference. They feel the weight of what it means to be without you. And that's the very thing that creates gravity. Not noise, not explanation, but stillness. You're not rejecting them by going quiet. You're revealing the imbalance they never acknowledged. You're holding up a mirror and saying, this is what it looks like without my effort, without my love, without my presence. And if they can't handle the silence, they were never going to handle the real you. So say it. Say it in the comments. Say it in your soul. My silence reveals truth. Type it. Believe it. Let it guide your energy from this day forward, because what's coming next isn't just silence, it's transformation. And when they finally wake up and look for the old version of you, they won't find them. They'll find someone who doesn't chase, someone who doesn't beg, someone who learned that silence wasn't the end. It was the beginning. Stay with me. We're just getting started. Number 4, let absence do what presence couldn't. Sometimes the only way they'll see your worth is when they can't feel your presence anymore. You tried. You really did. You showed up. You loved hard. You stayed consistent. And you gave them something real, your presence. You thought if you kept showing them your heart, they'd finally understand its value. You thought if you kept texting, calling, checking in, and giving more, eventually they'd match your energy. But they didn't. And now here you are, realizing that your presence became invisible. It didn't pull them closer. It didn't wake them up. It made them comfortable, not grateful. So now it's time to do something you haven't tried. Let absence speak. See, presence is beautiful. It's connection, it's energy. But when it's taken for granted, it loses its power. Think of it like music. If a song plays on repeat every single day, eventually you stop hearing it. You stop noticing the lyrics. It becomes background noise. But the moment that music stops, the silence, that's when you suddenly realize how much it filled the space. That's the moment your ears perk up. That's when you hit rewind, trying to get it back. That's what your absence is. A pause, a silence, a reminder. But let's be honest, this isn't easy. You're probably sitting with 1,000 thoughts rushing through your mind. What if they think I don't care? What if they replace me? What if the silence pushes them further away? I hear you. That fear is real. But let me ask you something. Did your constant presence keep them close? Or did it just make them feel like you'd always be there, no matter how they treated you? Here's the uncomfortable truth most people avoid. Being available all the time doesn't make someone appreciate you. It makes them expect you. And expectation kills mystery. It kills attraction. When someone knows you'll always answer, always check in, always reach out, they stop listening for you. They stop feeling the depth of your energy because you've made it too easy to ignore. And that's why absence is powerful. It interrupts the pattern, it breaks the loop, it creates space where their assumptions used to live. Suddenly they don't know what you're thinking. They don't know where your attention went. And that silence stirs something. Curiosity, reflection, doubt, regret. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." And when you stop coloring their world with your constant presence, they're forced to sit with their own without you there to fill the gaps. They begin to notice the emptiness. They start to realize just how much your presence was doing, even in silence. This isn't about playing games. This isn't about withholding love. It's about balance. It's about honoring your energy enough to pull it back when it's no longer being valued. Because love doesn't mean overextending. Respect doesn't mean overexposing. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself and for them is to walk away just long enough for them to see what your footsteps really carried. You don't need to explain it. You don't need to send a long message filled with reasons. Your silence is the message. Your absence is the proof that you're no longer pouring into a cup with holes in it, that you're no longer trying to force someone to see what was always clear if they just paid attention. And yes, they might not notice it right away. Some people are slow to realize what they had. But when they do, it's not your noise they'll remember. It's your stillness, how your energy felt. And it's the echo of that absence that will haunt them more than any goodbye ever could. So let the silence do its job. Let the space breathe. Let your absence become the weight they didn't know they were carrying until you dropped it. And if they never return, good. Because what you're becoming in that silence is worth far more than someone who needed to lose you to finally appreciate you. Say it loud in the comments. My absence has power. Type it. Believe it. Let it remind you that you don't need to fight for your place. You are the place. And trust me, what's coming next is not about distance anymore. It's about presence. A presence so grounded, so unbothered, so undeniable that they'll feel it even when you're nowhere to be found. Stay with me. It's only getting deeper from here. Number 5. They're not ghosting. They're testing your self-worth. Sometimes they pull away not to leave, but to see if you'll chase what should already be choosing you. Let's stop calling it ghosting when it's something far more calculated, because deep down they know what they're doing. They're not disappearing by accident. They're pulling back with precision, slowly, quietly, carefully, not to vanish forever, but to see what you'll do when the silence starts stretching. This isn't always abandonment. Sometimes it's a test, not a romantic one, but a power play, a game to see if you'll break character and chase, if you'll sacrifice your self-worth just to keep them close. They want to know if you'll fold. See, most people don't pull away all at once. They drip-feed their detachment, a delayed reply here, a missed call there, a subtle shift in tone. Suddenly you're asking yourself, are they losing interest? Did I say something wrong? Should I fix this? That's where they want you, on edge, second-guessing yourself, drowning in overthinking. Because the moment you start blaming yourself for their distance, they've got you. It's like walking a dog on a loose leash. They take a few steps forward and you instinctively move with them. But then they pause, look back, and wait. If you keep walking toward them without hesitation, they know one thing. You're not holding the leash anymore. They are. And just like that, the dynamic flips. You've gone from grounded to grasping, from desired to desperate. Let's call it what it is, a self-worth check. They want to see if your identity is rooted in them, if your peace depends on their attention, if you'll chase without being called. And if you do, if you send that double text, if you reach out just to check in, if you start over-explaining your heart, they know they don't have to give you much to keep you right where they want you. And that's the trap most people fall into, confusing love with pursuit, confusing emotional manipulation with emotional connection. But here's the truth they're not ready for. You're not here to audition for someone who already saw your worth and decided to test it. This isn't a reality show. Your value isn't determined by how much you're willing to suffer to stay on the stage. You're not competing for affection. You're not proving your patience. You're protecting your peace. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your judgment of it." And right now, you're being tested not by their actions, but by how you interpret them. You think silence means something's wrong with you. You think distance means you have to do more. But what if it doesn't? What if their retreat has nothing to do with your worth and everything to do with theirs? Because people who know their value don't test yours. They don't disappear just to see if you'll beg. They don't go silent just to make you feel loud. They show up. They stay consistent. They don't play hide and seek with your emotions. But the ones who aren't sure of themselves, the ones who still feed off control, they pull away just enough to keep you unsure, just enough to keep you chasing shadows. So what do you do when you feel it happening? You don't react. You don't chase. You don't send a novel explaining your feelings. You observe. You go still. You let them sit with the space they created, because that space is the only thing that reveals the truth. If they were testing you, the silence will break them first. And if they were truly gone, the silence will give you clarity without chaos. Your job isn't to solve the mystery of someone else's immaturity. Your job is to protect your energy like it's sacred, because it is. And anyone who tries to provoke you into chasing them isn't looking for a partner. They're looking for power. Say it loud in the comments. I do not chase tests. I pass them with silence. Type it. Own it. Let it remind you who you are every time that maybe I should reach out thought tries to crawl back in. Because what's coming next is not just silence. It's strategy, strength, and self-respect that no one can question, not even the ones who tried to. Stay with me. We're just heating up. Number 6, become so grounded you don't flinch when they vanish. A strong mind remains still when the world around it shifts. A grounded soul does not chase shadows. This is the part where most people lose themselves. Not when someone says goodbye, but when they don't say anything at all. When the messages go unread, when the calls stop coming, when the connection doesn't officially break. It just fades into this painful gray silence. That's when the spiral starts. Not because of what's said, but because of what's not. You find yourself staring at your phone, rereading old conversations, replaying memories, wondering where it went wrong. And in that wondering, you start to forget who you are. That's the danger of emotional dependence. It turns silence into a crisis. But silence doesn't have to mean devastation. It can mean direction if you're grounded. Let me ask you something. If a tree loses a few leaves, does it panic? If the wind blows through the branches, do the roots pull themselves up and run after the breeze? No, because that tree is planted. It stands tall, silent, unmoved. Seasons change around it. People come and go. Storms shake the branches, yes, but the roots stay. That's the level of grounding you need. Because in this game of silence, they're watching you closer than you think. They might be gone, but they're looking back. They're waiting to see if you'll flinch, if you'll break character, if you'll send that, "Hey, I just wanted to check in" message. But every time you do, you send them one message louder than your words. You still have control over me. And that's what has to stop. You cannot keep letting someone's distance unbalance your entire being. You cannot keep attaching your self-worth to whether someone chooses to stay or not. Because the truth is, people don't always pull away because something's wrong with you. Sometimes they just don't know how to handle someone so grounded, so unbothered, so in control of their own peace. When you're rooted, you don't chase storms. You don't try to convince the rain to stop. You just wait it out. And in that stillness, you gain more power than any apology could ever give you, because they expect you to fall apart. They expect the panic. They expect the old version of you, the one that begged, the one that over-explained, the one that couldn't sit in silence without crumbling. But this version, this grounded version, you're different now. Marcus Aurelius said, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." That's the home you need to return to, not their inbox, not their story feed, not their shadow, but your soul, your purpose, your own center. Because when you do, you become untouchable, not because you're pretending not to care, but because you've made peace with the fact that their absence doesn't subtract from your value, it adds to your clarity. And let's be honest, it's not that you don't feel the sting, you do. Of course you do. You cared, you gave, you showed up. But real strength isn't the absence of feeling, it's the presence of discipline. It's choosing not to act on every impulse. It's choosing to breathe when your ego wants to scream. It's choosing to stand when every part of you wants to chase. Because here's what they'll eventually realize. The person who doesn't flinch is the person who doesn't fear losing someone who never truly valued them to begin with. That kind of confidence is rare, and anything rare becomes magnetic, not right away, not when you're hoping it will, but eventually when your absence becomes too loud to ignore. So the next time they go silent, don't panic. Don't try to fill the space with effort. Let the silence speak for you. Let your grounded energy do the talking. Let them feel the difference between someone who reacts and someone who remains rooted. Say it with me in the comments. I do not flinch. Type it. Believe it. Let it be your anchor. Because what's coming next isn't reaction. It's revelation. The shift where your stillness becomes the storm they never saw coming. Stay with me. We're building something unshakable. Number 7, when they return, let the new you answer the door. If they come back, don't greet them with the version of you that begged to be seen. Let them meet the one who learned how to walk away. They always come back, maybe not today, maybe not next week, but eventually they feel the silence. They feel the shift. They remember the presence that stopped showing up. And when the curiosity gets loud enough, when the attention they thought was permanent suddenly vanishes into stillness, they circle back. Maybe it's a casual message, maybe a story reply, maybe a just thinking of you. It doesn't matter how it comes, what matters is who opens the door. You see, you didn't just sit in silence, you evolved in it. You didn't just disappear, you rebuilt quietly, silently, like a mountain carving itself through time. And now they're knocking on the door of a home that no longer looks the same. It's cleaner now, calmer, more powerful. The desperation has left the room. The need for explanation is gone. The old you that would have jumped at the chance to reconnect, that version doesn't live here anymore. And maybe part of you still wants to open the door wide. Let them in. Ask them what changed. Ask them why they left. But don't. Not yet. Because if someone left while you were handing them your full heart and only returns when they feel the absence of it, they don't deserve access to the parts of you that had to survive their silence. Let me be clear. This isn't about playing games. This isn't about acting indifferent to get revenge. It's about boundaries. It's about honoring the work you did when they weren't around to help you heal. It's about protecting your peace like a treasure you almost lost while trying to keep someone who didn't see it. And if you hand it back too easily, you tell them that silence was just a performance. You teach them you were just waiting, not evolving. So when they reach out, don't be cold, be calm. Don't be rude, be rooted. Let them see the glow, not the burn. Let them feel your energy, not your emptiness. Because what pulls people in isn't overcompensation, it's contrast. The difference between the person they left and the person they're now meeting. That's the wake-up call. That's the shock. That's what makes them question everything. And here's the thing, they might try to pick up where they left off. They might speak to the old version of you, expecting the same responses. That's your cue to stand tall, not to prove anything, not to perform, but to show through your stillness that you're not there to be chosen. You've already chosen yourself. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injustice." And that's exactly the energy you carry now. You don't need to mirror their inconsistency. You don't need to return to the dance of mixed signals and half-hearted promises. You respond with grace, with poise, with power. You let them feel that they're not returning to what they left. They're facing something they no longer recognize, not because you became someone else, but because you finally became yourself. This is where most people mess it up. They get excited. They think, finally they see my worth. But if your worth had to be lost for it to be noticed, don't hand it over so easily. Make sure they're coming back with clarity, not confusion. Make sure they're returning to respect, not convenience. So when they return, don't rush, don't crumble. Don't soften your boundaries for the sake of closure or comfort. Let them step into the presence of someone stronger. Let the silence you built be the proof of what you survived. Let your energy say everything your words don't need to. Say it with me in the comments. They'll meet the new me. Type it. Believe it. Let it be a vow to yourself. Because the next chapter doesn't begin with begging. It begins with becoming. And what's coming after this? It's not about them anymore. It's about the version of you that no longer waits, but chooses. Stay with me. The best part is still ahead. Number 8. If they don't return, you've already won. If they never come back, it wasn't your loss. It was your rebirth. Let's be real. There's a part of you that's still holding your breath, isn't there? A part deep inside that's quietly waiting. Not obsessively, not like before, but enough to wonder, will they ever come back? Enough to imagine what it might feel like if they finally realized what they walked away from. That fantasy of the apology, of the regret, of the full circle moment lingers. It sneaks up on you in the silence, and it whispers a dangerous lie that your healing depends on their return. But it doesn't. In fact, their return has nothing to do with your victory, or whether they ever show up again. You've already won. You won the second you stopped chasing. You won the moment you didn't send that last text. You won when you let the silence stretch and didn't fill it with desperation. Because healing isn't proven by who comes back. It's proven by who you become when they don't. See, everyone talks about closure like it's some grand finish line, that you can't move on without it, that your story isn't complete until the person who hurt you comes back and ties everything up with a neat little bow. But the truth is, closure isn't given, it's chosen. And most of the time, the person you're waiting for isn't coming back to heal you. If they return, it's usually to see if you're still available, still waiting, still there. And you? You're not that same person anymore. You're not sitting around hoping they remember. You're not refreshing your messages, watching their stories, or trying to decode their silence like it holds answers. Because what used to be an obsession is now just a memory. What used to control your energy no longer gets a response. And yes, it hurts sometimes. Growth always does. Silence can feel like abandonment. Detachment can feel like death. But what you're really doing is shedding. Shedding the version of you who believed they had to beg for love, who thought their worth was measured by someone else's ability to stay, who confused attachment with connection and silence with punishment. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Their absence became the way. The silence forced you to listen to yourself. And now, look at you. Not perfect, not fully healed, but aware, stronger, wiser, more peaceful than you've been in a long, long time. If they never return, let that be your final confirmation, not of rejection, but of redirection, that you were always meant to outgrow them, that their exit created space for someone new, someone who doesn't have to be begged to stay, and more importantly for you, the version of you that doesn't need to be chosen to feel enough. Because what matters most isn't whether they come back. It's that you didn't lose yourself waiting for them, that you took the pain and turned it into presence, that you used the silence as fuel, not a cage. And now, instead of being someone who waits for closure, you've become someone who is closure. You are the finish line. You are the answer. You are the proof that walking away from what doesn't value you isn't a loss, it's a rebirth. So stop hoping they'll come back to validate your growth. Stop wondering if they regret it. It's not about them anymore. It never really was. This journey, this transformation, this stillness you've learned to sit in, it's about you. About becoming so full of your own worth that their presence or absence makes no difference.